I'm about to read The Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare, and this is part of the Infernal Devices trilogy, and this is the second one in the series. And look at this spine. It's so cool. All of the new printed ones, they have these spines, and all the spines connect, not just for Infernal Devices, but all of Cassandra Clare's books. So I think that's just really neat. I like that a lot. So my expectations for this book are probably in the middle somewhere, because I hear that as the books continue, they get better and better. So the first one is, they say, not the best one, which kind of agree with. The characters are very flat, aside from Jem, who's on the cover here. He's the only character I really liked. And so the second book, and I hear the third book is the best one, that it kind of ramps up. And so this one I'm actually pretty excited for, because on the back here, it talks about more about how Tessa and Jem kind of get closer, and then also how Will's walls start to crumble. So he has this really, really annoying act that he does all the time, where he doesn't care about anything, all that, and I'm just ugh, so annoying. So I'm hoping that because it says his walls crumble, we'll actually be able to see who he actually is, not who he's pretending to be at all times. So I'm looking forward to that, because I find his character so insufferable, and I'm sure if I was a teenager, I probably would have been oh, he's so troubled. But as an adult, I'm come on man, just be yourself. So I'm excited to see kind of how that's going to progress. And yeah, I feel this one is probably going to be a 4-star read. That's my guess, because the other one was a 4-star read. But that was an honorary 4-star read, just because it surprised me, but I think it's more 3.5. But this one I have a feeling is going to be 4-star. And so I'm pretty excited about it. And let's just crack it open and get reading. I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into The Clockwork Prince, and this one is so much faster and better than the first one. Because the first book was a lot of introductions and kind of getting weaved into the world, this book doesn't have to worry about that. It just kind of goes straight into the action, and you're starting to get some more kind of insight into the characters, and I think that's so much fun. I think that the writing in this one is better as well. Not that the other one didn't have good writing, but this one it's really immersive, I suppose. There's no fight scenes yet, whereas the other one, there were a lot of fight scenes and they were so well done. And right now where I'm at, there's no fight scenes yet, but it has this kind of haunted house kind of vibe, and I dig that. As somebody whose favorite holiday of all time is Halloween, all about the whole vibes and stuff, this second book is really given those kind of vibes. So essentially, Tessa, Will, and Jem are trying to help Charlotte find the Mortman guy from the first book. And so basically Charlotte needs to find this guy within 2 weeks, or at least some information for 2 weeks, or she's gonna kind of lose her position as the person in charge of her institute, and it'll be given to the bad guy. Not the bad guy, but the Lightwoods, who are kind of bad guys, but not in the same way as Mortman. Who knows? Maybe I'm eating my words. Maybe the Lightwoods turn out to be really, really bad. Who knows? And so what I really like, though, is that you get to see more of the Lightwoods kids, and I always forget which one is the good one. They both start with a G. It's Gideon and Gabriel. And what I'm really excited about is that they're teaching Tessa and Sophie how to fight, how to defend themselves because of what happened in the first book. And so this is exciting, because in the first book, Tessa didn't really get a fight because she doesn't know how to fight. So she was mostly just kind of waiting around and stuff and running away. So I'm excited to see if she's gonna start using her fighting moves when the bad guys come. So that's gonna be pretty cool. I also really am loving Sophie. I like her character. I think she's really cool, and yeah, so Sophie and Jem are my favorite so far, and she likes Jem, so so going back to the haunted part that I was talking about before I got distracted about the fighting part, is that they are on this mission and they're basically trying to find this guy. And Charlotte's like dad was friends with this guy who was like 93 years old, but then they became enemies and like all this drama happened. So Charlotte kind of sends the three over there because he doesn't want to associate with Charlotte because he hates her dad. And so the three kind of go over, and this guy has like a really like haunted kind of institute feel. Like it's kind of like rugged and weird and like spooky, and all the food is really bad as well. It's just like a bad experience. And the guy himself is always dressed in black, and he's like, like very strange. And he has like a collection of spoils, which are basically like body parts from like underworlders, so like fairy winds or werewolf claws, or even like heads of warlocks or like warlocks marks. And so obviously Tess is like, I don't like this, but she's pretending to be betrothed to Jem, which obviously Will does not like that. And the reason that she's pretending that is because that's kind of the only way that she's able to kind of accompany the Shadowhunters on this mission. And so there's like a law in the Shadowhunter world where if they're pretending that she's a mundane, not an otherworlder or underworlder, and so she's pretending to be betrothed to Jem, because in that kind of world you can turn a mundane into a Shadowhunter, but they have to basically learn everything about the world. So she's there like to learn about the world, but she actually just wants to like get something of Mortman's, and that way she can kind of like turn into him and get like his memories and kind of like understand what's going on. And so because they're pretending to be together, which is one of my favorite tropes, by the way, she's kind of like starting to see him a little bit differently. She's starting to feel a little bit warm and fuzzy, and Will's like, he doesn't like it. But because he's so hot and cold all the time, like one minute he's being like really nice and sweet to her, but then suddenly he's like, like pushing her away. Like, yeah, it's just like really stressful for her. And like, again, in my humble opinion, I still don't know what she sees in Will, and I don't think the kind of way that he's treating her is fair to her, and she shouldn't have to feel like that. Like, I feel bad for her because she likes him, and he obviously likes her, but he's like, he's being really rude to her and stuff, and like, I know it's just like to protect himself, but it's not fair for Tessa. And so, I don't know, I just don't think it's a good vibe. Like, I just don't like him. I'm sorry, Will fans. I just don't like him. I'm sure he's gonna get better. He's already starting to kind of like do some things, but then he like completely flips the other way around. I'm like, oh, please, Will, you have potential. Just grow up. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun reading this book. And there's like, in case you're wondering like what all that light stuff is behind me, there's like a jackhammer and a bunch of like other construction machines that I don't know the name of, and they're just like digging this gigantic hole, and it's snowing like pretty hard out there. So yeah, that's what's going on. I really hope that you can't hear the it's super strange. Anyways, as I was saying, I'm enjoying this book. It's already way better than the other one, which I know I gave an honorary 4 stars, which is actually 3.5-star book. This one is like really, I'm really excited about it. I'm really liking where it's going. I'm loving the haunted vibes and like the mystery that they're unfolding, and just like now that I know the characters, even if they're not like the best characters ever, it's kind of like fun to follow them around. So yeah, this is great. So I will update you at the halfway mark, and I'm going to continue to read and try not to get distracted by that stuff that's happening outside my window. I'm now about halfway through Clockwork Prince, and I'm still loving this. This is so much better than the first one. I feel like I might have to eat my words about Will, but not quite yet. Like, I understand about like the whole curse aspect and like why he does the thing he do, like why he's so hot and cold all the time, but still, he still annoys me, but I got some sympathy for him. Like, I understand him better, and I think that was really good. He still annoys me, but less so now. And then seeing Jem as well, like, and like how he and Tessa like kind of had their moment together, which was nice. I don't think that they're endgame, like they don't feel like it. Like Jem feels like the nice friend that you have, but like your favorite sweater kind of thing, but like you wouldn't like sleep with your favorite sweater. I feel like I saw that quote somewhere, and it just kind of like, that's what Jem makes me think of. Like he and Tessa, like they're like favorite sweaters. Like me, this is my favorite sweater. It's so comfortable. But Will is not a favorite sweater. He's something different. Like, again, I don't really like him, but like he and Tessa are obviously like the end game for this, and Jem is more like the favorite sweater. But it was really, really cool to see Jem get really mad at Will, because Jem is like the chillest, calmest, like nicest, just essence of good, and seeing him because of what Will did and like just so mad at him, like he actually punched Will in the face. He's like disgusted by that, disgusted by what Will did. And I was like, oh, Jem, look at you go. Like, he's so good. Like, I really admire Jem. I really liked him. I also really liked the kind of like, then they mentioned that his hair used to be black and then it changed. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, I wonder, like, why does he have silver hair? Like, is that normal for Shadowhunters? But it doesn't seem to be. I think it's just because of like his illness. So this second book has been all about just like character development, like really diving deeper into like Will's backstory and developing like the friendship or kind of the relationship with Tessa and Jem, but like, I don't know, the vibes aren't there. Again, he's like a favorite sweater. There's like not really any of that like tension and stuff, but Jem's my fave. And so I really like what's going on with that part. And then I also really like the interesting thing that seems to be going on with Sophie and Gideon. That's pretty interesting to me, because like Sophie's had such a bad time. Like, she's in love with Jem, but I don't think Jem like sees her that way. And so like Gideon is like super sweet to her, and he seems like the good brother, and Gabriel's like the get out of here, you're annoying kind of guy. And so it's really nice to just like see her like start to trust somebody, especially like a guy, because of like what happened to her from like her previous employer and like how he hurt her. And so like it's nice to see her like starting to build some trust and like make some friends and stuff, because I really like Sophie and I love what she did to like Jessamine or Jessie. I don't know how to say her name, but I really love that she just like whacked her with a mirror. It was so good. And so right now they are on their way to the masquerade. So Tessa has of course changed, and then it's a masquerade. So like Will's just wearing a mask and like people can't tell who he is. So they're on the way to the masquerade, and I feel like something really bad is gonna happen, because they have pretty much discovered that like Tessa's brother Nate is going to be there, and we remember what happened to him, like what he did in the last book, like horrible guy. And that also means that Mortmain may be there, and so they're basically just trying to find him. And so they don't want to tell Charlotte, because like she would have to like tell like the whole Clave about it, and like it may be nothing. So they're kind of going in to like investigate, and Gemma's unfortunately throwing up blood and like all that stuff, so he's kind of staying home right now, just kind of chilling. And I swear, if they kill off Jem, I'm gonna riot, because like this boy is just so sweet and so precious, and he needs to be protected at all costs. So yeah, that's my little update for you. I am going to continue to read this book and see what happens at the masquerade. Like, are they gonna be fighting? Is there gonna be drama? Like, who knows? But I'm having a blast with this. And so I will update you when I'm towards the end or when I finish the book. So I will see you in my next update. I'm almost done Clockwork Prince, and oh my goodness. So Will ended up as the most coincidental thing. He ended up finding the demon that's basically responsible for why he acts the way he does, and he kind of gets into a bit of a tussle with it, and he ends up getting like its tooth. And this is exactly what he needs, because now when he goes to Magnus, Magnus can like summon the demon and kind of like interrogate it and convince the demon, or threaten the demon, to basically remove the curse. So while Magnus is kind of like preparing and doing his Magnus stuff, then on the other side, they're still trying to find Mortmain. And so they kind of come up with like a plan where Tessa is gonna change again and meet up with Nate. And I mean, I think as we all kind of expected, Nate was already on to them. And so like he meets up and he has like this big automation thing that like starts attacking everybody, and all of that. And so I think as well, what was really interesting about kind of like that meetup part is like when Jem, Charlotte, and Will kind of were like preparing to like hide out in that area before Tessa would like show up, they came across like this werewolf who Mortmain is basically like using the drug that Jem has to use for his, that Jem has to use. And it kind of is interesting because it's kind of like showcasing like what Jem's future is gonna be like how he's going to die. I really hope he doesn't die though, because I love him. And like they see this werewolf and he's like face down on the ground, like he's like all silver and he's like throwing up blood and like all this stuff, and he's like, yeah, it's really hard. And then it's like really hard as well for like Jem, who didn't want to be addicted. Like he was forced to be addicted to this substance, and like he has to rely on it, and if he doesn't take it, he dies, and if he does take it, it's just prolonging his death. So it was really interesting to be able to see like how he and Will kind of observed what could be Jem's future. So there was a pretty good fight scene that happened with the automation and Nate, and Will was very heroic, and basically like while the automation was about to like explode, he like jumps on top of Tessa and like takes all the impact into his back. And so it was really heroic of him. He's definitely rubbing off on me a little bit, just a little bit. And so I thought that was really nice what he did. And then like Tessa, because of like all the shock and everything happens during this fight, she ends up passing out, which I feel like she passes out a lot. Like I feel like it's not common for people to just like faint as much as she faints, but she faints a lot. And so she fainted again, and so she ends up like kind of having like some dreams and stuff in the hospital, and Will comes to see her and she's like, oh, it's a dream, so I can like lean against Will kind of thing. But she's like kind of seeing Jem right now. And then she also was able to see like Jessamine in the Silent City, and that was really interesting because I don't know if that was true what she saw with her like breaking the diamond and being really upset, or I don't know. Interesting though. And the part that made me scream, I took a Snapchat and I sent it to my friend, and it was like screaming, crying, throwing up, because when when Will and Magnus summoned the demon, oh, it was the right demon. And so now, like, oh, I don't want to spoil it for you. I'm not spoiling it for you, but as you can guess, like, now Will he's free to love people again. Like, he can go love, it doesn't matter who loves him and who he loves, and so he's on his way to like confess to Tessa. However, Jem has just proposed to Tessa and she said yes. So like, he had this like really like, I mean, nobody would talk like this in real life, but book characters can do whatever they want and it will still like melt your heart. But like, he was like basically talked about how like he has a short life, but he wants to live it with her, and that he doesn't know how many heartbeats he has left, but he wants to share every moment with her. And I'm like, this is so sweet. Like, why are book guys not real? And why, like, yeah. So that's where I'm at right now. It's, yeah, we'll see. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I'm really worried that like Jem is gonna die, and then that's gonna allow Will and Tessa to be together. Cause like, it's just like so complicated, because like Tessa likes them both, and this is what annoys me about love triangles, because I hate when the other person gets hurt. Like, it just, because like either way somebody's gonna be upset. Will's gonna be upset, Jem's gonna be upset, everybody's just upset, and so like it just stresses me out. But yeah, so I'm going to continue to read this book. I'm gonna find out what happens next. You never know, like in the last 100 pages what's gonna happen. So hopefully everything is okay. I know there's a third and final book, which I have already, so yeah, I'm gonna continue to read and I'll update you when I'm done. finished Clockwork Prince, and this one was so much better than the first one. I'm really excited for the third one, the third and final one. I would say that this one was way more character focused, way more on like the development and kind of like testing the relationships of the characters and kind of getting them into like different situations and like working together, whereas the first one was more like action based and introductory, and so that's why I found it like really slow. That's the one that honorary 4 stars, but in reality is more like a 3.5. This one here, I would definitely award it real 4 stars. And like the last page of this, like the first one, leaves you like hanging. You're like, oh, what's gonna happen now? Because like Jem and Tessa are engaged. Will obviously is still in love with Tessa, and Tessa's in love with Will. And then like the person who showed up at the end is just like throwing a whole wrench in everything. Like everything's gonna change. And so it's like, oh, what's gonna happen? And I also really enjoyed that we didn't even see Mortman, like, at all, this entire book. The first book, we actually did see him. This one, I like that we didn't see him because it's a really cliche, like, you see the big bad guy, you have a fight, he escapes. And I'm like, if that happens again, like, it's a little too cliche, but it didn't happen. He wasn't even here. Like, he was just kind of like an entity. And I think that was really good because you don't want to, like, have this bad guy always kind of around and then like running away. He's like really kind of positioned as like this really powerful guy who's like has all these like puppets. My heart breaks for poor Jem. I'm so sad because like Tessa did like him, but she obviously likes Will more, and so like I don't want his heart to break. He's like so sweet and kind and he needs to be protected, and it's just like yeah, especially like now that like Will confessed to Tessa, now she's like not really vibing with Jem as she was before, and it's like, I know. I also really liked that we really got to understand the insights into the Lightwood family with like Gabriel and Gideon and their dad and like what happened to their mom and like all of this stuff. I thought that was really well done, and I really loved like the focus on Sophie in this book because I think Sophie is she's really great, and so I love just being able to like follow her around and like see what she's up to and like how she builds like how she trusts, like there's only certain people she can trust, and so like I really like that. And then of course like the relationship that she has with Tessa, like it's just so nice. So yeah, I really enjoyed The Clockwork Prince. I am now going to be reading The Clockwork Princess, so if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification, that way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one for Clockwork Princess. Bye!